Hey guys, what's up and welcome to the benchmarking gaming video for the Elephone U Pro. In this video, I run a couple of benchmarks and play a couple of games, and I'm also running a giveaway for the Elephone U Pro. So if you want to enter, all you have to do is click on the link in the description down below. Enjoy. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you a ton of benchmarks and a ton of games on the Elephone U Pro Snapdragon 660, 6GB of RAM. And I changed it up a little bit. Instead of having you see the phone with the benchmark score on it or me playing the game itself, I recorded everything and put it on the video so that it's easier for you to see and higher quality as well. So with that being said, let's start with benchmarks, and first let's talk about the Geekbench score. I ran Geekbench and I got a single core score of about 1600 and a multi-core score of about 5400. Now those scores are pretty good, and if you compare them to the other scores that we have here, so let's compare this to the Exynos version of the Galaxy S7 as well as the Exynos version of the Galaxy Note 7. It gets about a 300 or 200 score less than those, and if you compare that to the OnePlus 3 with the Snapdragon 820, it's about 100 points below that, so it's actually not that far off from a Snapdragon 820, which is actually pretty good. And if you compare it to the Xiaomi Mi 5 with the Snapdragon 820, you look at the score, it's pretty much the same, just a difference of about 18 points, which is pretty much nothing in Geekbench, which is actually pretty impressive. This Snapdragon 660 in the Elephone U Pro is quite well optimized. Next, let's talk about the multi-core score. Again, comparing to the exact same phones, it's very surprising that the Elephone U Pro actually beats the Exynos versions of these phones by about 200 points, which again is not a lot, but it's actually pretty decent. The Snapdragon 660 is pretty good, and Elephone did a pretty good job of optimizing that as well, and it pretty much beats the OnePlus 3 like crazy by almost 1500 points with the Snapdragon 820. Again, very good scores. Next, let's talk about Antutu, and here I ran Antutu and I got a score of about 132,000, which is a very good score, especially for a Snapdragon 660. And you can see the divisions of the score. The CPU is 63,000, GPU is actually not that great, it's about 30,000, the UX is about 33,000, and the memory is about 5,500. So the Snapdragon 820 actually has more balanced scores than the Snapdragon 660 here, as the CPU and GPU are actually pretty far apart. That's actually to be expected because the Snapdragon 660 GPU is actually not as powerful as what you have in the Snapdragon 820 here. Next, let's talk about some 3D Mark scores, and 3D Mark is pretty much exclusively almost for gaming. And let's talk about the Slingshot Xtreme score. I got a score of about a 1337, which again is not bad, and a Slingshot Xtreme Vulcan score of about 1049, which again is pretty decent as well. Next, let's talk about Ice Storm Xtreme. It's actually pretty funny how 3D Mark actually says that your device is too powerful for this test. We recommend using Slingshot Xtreme, which I just tested. So when I was watching the benchmark, this test pretty much ran completely smoothly, which is actually pretty good. As you can see, there are no scores. It just says max, 60 FPS, 48 FPS, 50 FPS. Again, all great scores. The Snapdragon 660 is sometimes too powerful for its own good. Next, I ran a storage benchmark, AndroBench, and as you can see here, it got some decent scores: 261 megabytes a second sequential read, 185 writes, 52 random read, and pretty bad is 10 megabytes random writes. If you compare that to what I got on my OnePlus 5T, I got something like 700 megabytes sequential read, which is quite a bit higher. A bit lower sequential writes, about 200, and 20 megabytes random write, which is about 2x what I get on the Elephone U Pro. Very sure this is not UFS, this is just regular eMMC storage, as it would definitely feel faster and be faster in the benchmarks as well. So now that we've talked about the benchmarks, let's go right through gaming. Alright, let's talk about gaming now. The first game we have here is Asphalt Xtreme, and again, the Snapdragon 660 is super powerful. It pushed right through the game, no problem, even when I was recording the stream at 1080p so I could show you this at high quality. And yeah, so definitely no problem playing the powerful games like Asphalt Xtreme here. Next, let's talk about Clash of Clans. Again, this game ran absolutely no problem, and please don't judge the way I play. I have not played this for a very long time, so again, I'm very rusty with Clash of Clans, so I just kind of built whatever I wanted and put whatever I wanted down. Again, absolutely no problem playing this game, even when I was recording, so absolutely no problem. Clash of Clans will run perfectly well on your phone here. Next, let's talk about Injustice 2, and this game ran very well. There is a little bit of stutter when I was recording, but there was less stutter when I was not recording the screen. So the Snapdragon 660, there are some games that won't run well if you're recording the screen at the same time. But that being said, that's not normally how most people play games. So again, you will have no problem playing Injustice 2 when you're not recording the screen. Then again, this is a very graphically intensive game as well. Next, let's talk about Clash Royale. This is not a very intense game, so as a result, I could play this game very easily, as well as record my screen at the same time. So if you want to play Clash Royale on this game, absolutely no problem. And the other good thing about this game is that this game requires a lot of length, so it's actually good to be playing on an 18:9 ratio phone. finally, let's talk about Modern Combat, and this is an FPS game, and it again runs very well even when I was recording the screen, and I could play this game pretty smoothly at pretty good frame rates, which is actually quite impressive for the Snapdragon 660. So yeah, absolutely good gaming experience here. So yeah, now that we've gone through the gaming as well as the benchmark, this is a very capable phone and a very capable chipset, and if you want this phone to play a lot of games, this is the phone for you, as you can play pretty much any game you want on this phone and you will not see any lag, unless you record your screen of course, which is fairly intensive, but then again that's not how most people or you would most likely be experiencing your game. Again, be sure to enter the giveaway that I have in the description down below. Best of luck to you, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.